Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing this optic. As you probably guessed from the title and the intro, this is the EOTech 512 holographic American-made optic, and as of right now when I'm filming this video in 2020, it is the cheapest holographic optic available on the American marketplace. Why do people like holographic optics? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. We'll get into them, but primarily is going to be speed, and I do agree with that assessment. In my opinion, holographic optics are the fastest optics out there in terms of CQB type shooting, especially if whatever target you are shooting at is moving and you have to track it. They are very, very fast in that regard. They're fast to acquire. They're parallax free. There's a bunch of other things that go along with them that people do like. And again, like I said, this is the cheapest one that's available in America in 2022, and it also has the original inline AA battery compartment, which some folks are also concerned with. Will it hold up, etc. in modern times? We will discuss all of that, as well as compare it to a couple different competitive offerings from EOTech and other brands. But before that, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is SDI, or the Sonoran Desert Institute. For folks that don't know, they do offer online education in the firearms space. They have a couple different degree programs that are accredited, and if you guys don't know about them, you should be seeing that information rolling in here on your screen. But again, I want to thank the folks over at SDI for sponsoring the video. Now let's get up close and personal on this optic. Starting off at the rear of the optic, you'll see we have the buttons labeled on and off. However, both of them will turn the optic on. If you do so using the on button, you will get 8 hours of continuous runtime before the auto shutoff cuts in. And if you do so using the off button, you'll get 4 hours of continuous runtime before the auto shutoff kicks in. Now, during any of that time, if you click either button up or down, it will automatically restart the timer on it. So if you're out, doing an 8-hour shift, let's say as a law enforcement officer, for example, at any time during your shift, say at lunch break, you just bump it up, it will stay on another 8 hours. So that is how the auto on and auto shut off works. Because it's a holographic optic, it's not going to have the battery life that a red dot would. It's just the way it is. It's much more difficult on a battery system. So that is how they manage that. Additionally, here on the right side of the optic, we have our windage and elevation turrets there. Both of those are very positive in terms of the clicks, and you will get a half MOA adjustment for each click as you adjust it. Over here on the left side of the optic, we do have our installation screw there. I do believe that's a 1/8 screw. Don't quote me on that. Regardless, it does come with the Allen key in the box that it comes in. It does come in a hard-sided padded box, which that certainly is nice, and it also comes with the batteries. Now, it does attach to a 1913 rail. It also attaches to a Weaver rail. I'm not sure if they publicize that, but I did test it just to see. For those of you guys that have like lever guns and things like that, it will mount up on a Weaver rail as well as your standard 1913. Continuing on forward, as we mentioned in the intro, it's powered off of 2 AA batteries, and our battery compartment is in line with the bore. Pulling that lever up, when the compartment goes forward, at that point you can pull up like so, and that will release it to allow you to change the batteries. These batteries did come with it, so it comes with a set of batteries, which is nice. And your battery life is approximately 2,000 hours with standard alkaline batteries, and approximately 2,500 hours with your lithium batteries. You can also use rechargeable batteries in there, which certainly is nice. And you can see it's got a tensioning device as you close it down, and it seals everything up to give you a water submergibility down to 10 feet. That said, compared to other EOTech optics, you probably don't want to scuba dive with it. But if you're out there, doing a patrol or whatever the case may be, hunting in the rain, you don't have to worry about that either, because it is all sealed up. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that this was the lowest cost option there from EOTech as far as holographic optics, and then this would be the most expensive. This is the EXPS 3.0, and basically what do you get with this that you don't get with this? Well, a few things. So you guys can see here on the side, we do have a night vision setting. Here on our 512, we have 20 brightness settings, however, no night vision compatible settings. Additionally, we have an integral QD lower 1/3 throw lever. which obviously we don't have here. This mount is going to give you an absolute co-witness on an AR style rifle, whereas this will give you a glow 1/3 as the name indicates. Additionally, the buttons there are on the side, so that way if you're shooting with a magnifier, you don't have to worry about anything being obscured there with your buttons, where obviously that's not the case here. You need to be able to access the rear, so you might have to flip your magnifier to the side to adjust your brightness and then kind of put it back. But both of them do have the same EOTech reticle, which a lot of folks do like. Again, it's going to be holographic, so if you look at the actual reticle while you're shooting, it may appear blurry, but it's intended to be superimposed on the target so that your target and or threat focused. If you do that, it will look nice and clear regardless of astigmatism. Everyone has an astigmatism to a slight extent. I've never noticed the reticle being fuzzy if I'm focused on the target, so that certainly is a good thing. And in terms of the actual reticle itself, it has a 1 MOA dot for precise aiming and zeroing, and then it has a 68 MOA dot around the side, so it's very fast to pick up. And one thing that's interesting about the 68 MOA distance is that it does give you the ability to range a person. According to DoD data, the average person is 5'8", so 68 MOA is 5'8". So you can see here how the reticle will look if you're trying to use it as a ranging device for a standing person. That's how you can do so. So if you add a magnifier or something like that, it really does become sort of a force multiplier with that reticle. The reticle is designed to be zeroed at 50 yards and 200 yards. And if you do that, it will make it so that at 7 yards, your offset on a standard AR will be point of aim, point of impact. Now, there certainly are other holographic optics out there, but in the American marketplace, really the only other competitor that doesn't have that EOTech logo there on the side is going to be this guy right here. This is the Vortex Amg Uh-1, and it obviously is American made as well, and it is more similar, I would say, to the EXPS3 in terms of feature set as well as cost, I should say. But just kind of giving you guys a size comparison, you can see sort of how they all stack up. They're all about the same width, just a little bit different size. These two do employ a CR123A battery, so a little bit more powerful battery, and it's going to be mounted perpendicular to the bore. So in theory, on a higher recoiling rifle, it should not have flickering issues that are possible with the 512. Now, I should address that rather. On the 512s that I've used, which is the ones with this logo on there as opposed to the early one, they're all post lawsuit, and with those they've all been beefed up to handle recoil better in that battery compartment, according to the EOTech engineers that I've spoken with. Now, I haven't used this on a SCAR 17. That said, it's probably not an ideal optic for a SCAR 17, but we did use it on a lightweight AR pistol that weighs about 5 pounds and did so with the suppressor on there, which is a pretty harsh recoiling environment for a rifle optic, and had no issues with the flickering at all. So in terms of that, it's held up just fine in my use. Additionally, we should note in terms of flickering, the battery, when it gets down to below 20% of usable battery on both these two optics there, it's just kind of an EOTech thing, it will flicker when you initially turn it on for about 3 seconds, and then it will go to the standard constant on that you'd expect, but that's just a warning that it's time to change the batteries out. With the close-up portion of the video out of the way, I want to discuss a few things before we close the video out. Earlier, I think I mentioned that it is parallax free, and what that means is basically if the optic is set at a fixed position and you move your head around, regardless of where your eye box is in relation to the actual reticle itself, it will not move. Now, that's not the case with any red dot on the market that I'm aware of. All of those have a set parallax, typically 50 or 100 yards, but with a holographic optic, you don't have that, so it is nice. So if you're doing a lot of awkward shooting positions, things like that, shooting under cars, etc., that is a nice feature to have, to not have to worry about parallax. That said, for the majority of time people are shooting, it's not an issue, but it is a nice thing to note. Additionally, nice thing to note is that this is a relatively lightweight optic. With the batteries, it comes in under 12 pounds, and of course having an integral mount helps cut down on the weight compared to some of the other offerings out there on the market. A con to it that is related to that as well is the size of it. So it's a relatively large optic, and if you plan on using it with a magnifier, which a lot of folks do, myself included, you may not have room for your rear sight, just kind of depending on how your AR is set up. If you're using it on an AR-15, for example, if you're using it on some other type of optic, then it could be prohibitive. If you're using like a night vision designator or something like that, if you had like say like a little B&T pistol, a braced pistol, there's not a lot of rail space on those. So in those cases, it may be a con that you have to consider. If it's just your main optic for your AR-15 type of setup, it's not really an issue at all. So take that into account for what it is. The fixed adapter, in terms of the mount to your rifle, it can be a pro or a con. A lot of folks like co-witness height. I do myself. I don't really have a huge preference over co-witness versus lower 1/3. That said, if you're trying to shoot with a super high, like 1.93 mount, and that's what you're used to, it may be a con, but it may not be, again, just depending on who you are. Additionally, like we mentioned in the intro, these are made in America, in Michigan. That's a huge pro for a lot of people. For some folks, it's not all that big of a deal. Again, I leave it up to you guys. Durability, we've had absolutely zero issues at all, and you guys have probably seen when we've been up close and on the actual optic itself, it's scuffed up. I have not babied this thing at all. We've had it in for over a year. It's had many thousand rounds shot through it, and again, we've had absolutely zero issues at all in terms of durability. And another thing I like about it is the fact that it has this protective hood on there. So if you guys kind of look at that, you'll see that the optic itself is really in here where that window is. And it's a very large window compared to a lot of red dots. A lot of folks do like that as well, particularly if you shoot with one eye closed. But that hood on the outside there, while it does give it a little bit of girth in terms of width, it protects it. So that hood can take an infinite amount of damage as long as it doesn't come down and impact these windows. With that damage, it's not going to be a problem. Additionally, since it is a holographic optic and the reticle is being projected on our front lens here, number one, it's not going to give a night vision signature away to anybody in front if that is a worry of yours. Additionally, if it is damaged, since the image is still being projected and it's all cracked or something like that, you can still use it using the bend aiming concept. Just superimpose the optic on what you see here with your off eye, and you can still shoot with it. The same is true if it's covered in mud or anything like that. So again, that kind of is a cool feature of holographic optics. And I think with that, the only thing we have to talk about is price. So the MSRP on this guy is $515. However, if you guys follow me on any of my social media sites that you see on the bottom of your screen where I post deals and things like that, this one, at least this year anyway, has been under $400 street price, again, with codes and the type of things that I post on my social media. So again, compared to some of the other optics that we showed you, like the EXPS3, that I think the MSRP on that one is $789 if I remember correctly offhand, that is a sizable jump in terms of price. And a lot of people sort of like their max budget for an optic tends to be around $400 because that's where there's really a lot of quality options. And this one is in that category. If you're looking for something that you don't need a long battery life for and that you want to be able to acquire things quickly and you don't need night vision, then hey, it's one I would recommend and it's one I would look at. But there are other good options out there as well, including other ones from EOTech. So with that, we'll close the video out. If you guys have any questions about the setups that we had when we were running these as we ran shooting footage in throughout the video, you can post those down below in the comments. If you have any questions about the optic that I didn't cover, you can post those down below in the comments as well. But I think that's pretty much it on the optic. If you guys like this type of video and you're not subscribed, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We post 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, so if you're not seeing that, you can also hit the notification bell if you've done both of those and you're still not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week. You can sign up for my email list at the website on your screen here. And that email goes out at most once a month, and it just has all my videos since the previous email went out, so that way there's no social media giant censoring your eyes from my content. Additionally, if this goes on sale and you're not following me on my social media for whatever reason, we have our daily deals email, and that email goes out, as the name implies, pretty much daily, and it has 6 or 7 of the best deals that we find around the internet. So if this thing goes on sale, it will go out in the email for my viewers to take advantage of. Anything in that email, if it goes out that day, it's the cheapest I know of that day anywhere on the internet, so that way it saves you guys some time because you don't have to do the looking because I've already done it for you, and hopefully saves you some money as well. With that, we'll close the video out. I truly appreciate all of you watching and look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.